I'm going to give you my big boomerang roundabout take. Ready?
All right.
I think Walz won.
Okay.
The reason why I think that is I actually think that Vance had better formal stage presence when it came to bobbing and weaving and answering questions. I think Vance actually did a phenomenal job redirecting and pivoting from everything that they were trying to pin on him, from either him or Trump. I think he did a really good job at that. I don't think Walz had like as banger of a performance as Dems would have wanted. Walz is very, very good in a casual setting. I think he excels there. In a formal setting, especially in the beginning, I don't think he excels as much. And he's also they're back to the thing where they're like trying to rattle off a whole bunch of policy points, which I don't think is as effective. I think they just need punchy slogans more. But I don't think that the Trump fan base gives a fuck to see Vance on stage, like being cordial and agreeing with Walz. So in a roundabout way, even though I think Vance technically had the better performance, I don't think that this increases turnout or exuberance on the conservative side, and I don't think it's driving up negatives on the Walz side. So I think that it's either a wash, or I think Walz comes out slightly ahead just because of the type of delusional, insane fan base Trump has built for himself. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, well, before Peace Code and Boy give their terrible announcement, no, I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm still undecided. There's no question that Vance had the better polish, that he was the better performer. However, I think that Walz gave excellent answers on abortion, healthcare, gun control, and particularly on January 6th when he redirected the question, which is who won the election. It's such an obvious fucking question with an obvious fucking answer. I didn't expect him to ask Vance that question. And I don't think Vance was expecting that question either because he didn't seem prepared for it, but he probably should have been.
That's true, but because conservatives can rewrite history, even if it's on video, can rewrite everything. All he has to do is redirect to the Hillary Clinton, redirect to Russiagate, redirect to all of that. And despite the fact that Trump's campaign did collude with Russia, despite the fact that Trump's campaign did benefit from actual Russian hackers leaking media, despite the fact that Trump's campaign does enjoy both institutional coverage and coverage on X in the form of JD Vance's stuff getting banned when it was leaked there. There's always a redirect for conservatives to avoid facing the music. They never have to live in reality.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sure. And Vance, no, I was going to say, and Walz didn't give the knockout rebuttal to that, you would have, or even I would have, like, had you been better prepared for it. But he did, make the points like, listen, there is a false equivalence. No Democrat has done what Trump did. I don't run Facebook. January 6th wasn't a Facebook ad. I think it was a pretty good answer to that. And the fact that happened at the end of the debate, I think rescues it for Walz for me. Like, had that been, at the beginning of the debate, and Walz didn't have that knockout performance at the last, I would have probably comfortably said that Vance won the debate. But because that happened at the very end, it kind of like revived it for me. So I'm still torn on it. But
I don't know if I like that answer, that I don't run Facebook, because it felt like he was. Oh, there were two really big problems. I don't like that answer. I don't run Facebook, because he made it sound like that Democrats were censoring people on Facebook. I think there are better ways to address that talking point, right? That like the kid that you discipline the most in class is the one that makes the most noise. It's not our fault if conservatives get dinged more on misinformation when you guys don't believe in, the results of the last election that happened under Trump, or when you don't believe in the vaccine that Donald Trump pushed, right? I think these are way better redirects than just saying, well, it wasn't us. And Trump was the only candidate that, for personal reasons, made a direct request to a social media company to take something down because it hurt his feelings. I think that always needs to be front and center. Trump made that request. No equivalent request, to my knowledge, has ever come from any other administration.
Well, I just want to say, no, I totally agree with you. Like, even in the grand scheme of things, that was a suboptimal answer. Even like the January 6th knockout blow, like that was good for Walz. And I think it was good for most Democratic politicians because, quite candidly, I don't think most Democratic politicians and most Republican politicians are particularly good debaters compared to like Twitch poll debaters, for example. Like,
you guys are all debate perverts. You don't understand the politics of joy.
Maybe Buttigieg or Newsom would have been able to deliver that sort of answer, Stephen. I totally agree. But I think when we talk about Kamala Harris having a good debate, like, it really wasn't in the grand scheme of things. That was like a C, D tier performance as far as like Twitch poll is concerned, but it was good for a sitting politician whose, formal profession is not actually debating. So that's what I mean.
Sure. I think Kamala actually did okay. Fuck, wait, real quick. There was one other thing that I thought was I don't know if he just wasn't aware of it, but he gave a really bad answer on that censorship thing. He said, "We'll fire in a crowded theater," and he talked about hate speech. The original context of that quote, where that got spread around on X, had to do with It had to do with Walz talking about not engaging in election interference. That's against the law. He just had to say that. Hey, when I talked about this legal speech, it's discouraging people from voting, giving bad information about where to vote at the polls. That's already illegal. It's not a First Amendment violation.
I'm sorry. Before Accountable in Peace, can somebody send me the timestamp, because I'm sure it's out there, of Steven listening to Walz say that he's friends with school shooters?
Oh no!
I just want to
based.
see.
Okay, that was
gotta
based.
see his
That was
reaction
based.
to it.
Best moment.
All right, I'll show
We
that,
beat
you guys.
Medicare. Now we've got I became friends with school shooters, and that'll be it. Those are the two best quotes of the presidential debate season so far.
Listen,
I
you
guess
got to
they're
be friends
eating
with a
cats
school
and
shooter.
dogs.
He was a teacher. You don't want him shooting up your classroom. Damn. I want to be in. I want to be with Mr. Walz. His classrooms are always safe.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that. Yeah, I mean, I think
go
that
ahead,
Tim
Tom.
Walz did. You know, Pisco, and I've talked about this before. I think the debates are on the presidential side mostly about beating expectations. It's one of the reasons why Trump can stand on stage and just like not shit himself,
Yep.
and he'll have 45% of people say he actually did really good. But then Kamala goes on stage and maybe takes a little bit too long to answer a certain question. All of a sudden, 40% of people right off the bat write her off and say, "Oh, she
Yep.
did horribly."
Trump regularly
that-
makes statements that if Biden would have made them, every single one individually would have been a call to step down. That answer that he gave about what policy would you use to end childhood poverty on that to that economic forum, that would have been the end of Biden's campaign if he had given a public answer like that.
Well, there's no like significant downside to either person's debate performance today, and I think that's really the most important thing to kind of secure in these debates. It was probably never the case that one person was going to give such an outstanding vice presidential debate performance that it was really going to move the needle. But there weren't incredibly substantially damaging clippable moments from either person. The friends with school shooter things is so funny though. It's gonna be
good.
It's gonna be a great meme for the rest of our lives.
Look better than Kamala. So I think that this was a tactical loss. Wait, can I get some copiums in the chat? Kamala Harris's victory will look so good because Tim Walz purposely. Okay. But like for real, like I don't think that those who are like all on board on the Vance pill, I think they're going a little bit too overboard. I don't think that the American people are as debate pilled as we are, and I think that we need to step a little bit out of our echo chamber.
Wait, I don't know what you mean when you say debate pilled.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily about how good you are at deflecting, how good you are at like.
I think it's absolutely. If we were debate pilled, then it would be like, Vance did horrible. He deflected on every point, and he didn't answer with substance. Any single thing ever. It was insane how illegitimate all his answers were and invalid. He engaged in logical fallacies. That's being debate pilled. Looking at a politician who's going, oh, he managed to avoid
I'm using the
every.
wrong term.
Well, he avoided answering for any of Trump's crimes. I mean that in a metaphorical sense, his crimes. He pivoted to every important talking point. He managed to slide away from all of the insane shit, unless I missed it, like the eating the cats and the dogs, more or less the J6 stuff he kind of got away from. He managed to slide away from all the crazy rhetoric over the disaster relief lately. The fact that Trump has literally threatened to withhold relief and that all the governors are thanking Biden for stepping up. I think Vance got away with almost everything. He managed to stay on point. He sane washed Trump's campaign like crazy and himself to some extent. I think I'm not being debate pilled when I say I think he did a pretty good job at coming off as like a normal, like I think they're like, here's the worry. There might be Republicans that are looking at like the Trump Vance ticket like crazy because Vance is a blubbering buffoon and Trump he is a little bit crazy, you got to admit. But seeing Vance on stage tonight, maybe it felt a little bit Pence-ish. And you're like, there's a little bit of sanity here. It's okay. That's the biggest fear, I think.
JD Vance didn't take the bait as well. That was the biggest critique coming out of the Trump-Harris debate, was she would say some shit that she knew would trigger the fuck out of Trump, and he would just talk for like 90 seconds of his 120 seconds about crowd sizes or whatever nonsense. Mm-hmm. There was a moment in the debate, for instance, where Walz said, this guy said, it was okay to make up stories if it meant, to his political advantage. And JD Vance just like doesn't address that Walz said that. He just moves past it, keeps talking about how illegals are coming into the country and spreading fentanyl across our communities. He stays on message. And again, it's almost easier for Vance to have a good debate performance because again, everyone's compared, I think, ultimately to Donald Trump if you're a Republican. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, you see a Republican on stage that's actually able to stay on message and not actually shit himself on stage. Wow, he did so good. And that's the sort of curve that Republicans are graded on. So my prediction would be that, I don't know, 55% of people who watched the debate say that JD Vance won it. 40% say Walz and 5% are unsure or something like that. And, it probably doesn't move.
Yeah,
the
I don't
needle
think
at
it's
all.
like a huge needle mover. I do think there is an issue too with the format. I feel this way when I debate conservatives, and there's no way to obviously set this up fairly, but conservatives thrive in environments where they get to answer questions in long, uninterrupted manner because they can just lie with impunity. They're never held to account. They can lie about every single thing they say or do. They can lie about Trump's record, which Vance did tonight. They can lie about the facts of the matter, which Vance did tonight, and you're never held to account for it, right? Like
you're only saying that because of your debate last night, where your opponent had a 45-minute opening.
Yeah, no, I mean, I literally just said that. Yeah, I feel that in my own debate format. So that's why I don't like debating conservatives. You should be able to interrupt a conservative because they lie like they breathe, effortlessly and without thought. And if you allow a conservative to just ramble off a whole bunch of, they'll rewrite history in front of your face. It's 1984 where you're at war with a different country halfway through the sentence of the party leader. That's how Republicans function. And if nobody's there to call them out on it, then yeah, you can whitewash or sanewash so much of the history of their record in office, and it's unreal.